Welcome to Data Visionary Talks. I have one of my favorite partners here. We always had a special relationship with Veeam here at NetApp, but I've been looking at your career and I had a pleasure to work with you over the last couple of years. So I'm really happy to have you here, Stefan. Would you shortly introduce yourself and tell our audience what you do?
Yeah, so hi, I'm Stefan Renner. Thanks for having me, first of all, here. I'm actually part of the Global Alliance Architecture Group at Veeam, so I'm the tech director in that group, overlaying all the alliances. And I'm, as you said, a close friend of NetApp, working with NetApp technology since like 13 years. And yeah, that's why I know you and why I love you, right? So.
Oh, wow. We already started with a love conversation. Maybe we should keep that for offline. Yeah. But the reason why I actually invited you today, Stefan, is because for me, you're one of the example of what we believe data visionary should be like. So tell me what it means for you to be a data visionary. How do you see that?
Yeah, so being in that industry since I think 14 years now, I saw a lot of companies in different situations, different journeys, right? And most recently, the last couple of years, we saw that data explosion. That's what we really see in the market. That's what NetApp sees as well, right? So there's more and more data in data centers, but there are less and less resources in the IT departments to take care of this amount of data. And obviously, that's also why the cloud is growing, because the data is growing. They don't want to care about the data anymore, so they're gonna move the data into the cloud. Just move it to the cloud and leverage these capabilities we're going to offer in the cloud, right?
So you said a lot of the customers you probably talk to and a lot of the companies you see in the different industry just obviously leverage cloud to put their data there. What is the next step? I mean, do they just leave it there? What happens with the data when it goes into the cloud?
Yeah, so for now, my personal opinion would be for now to leave it there, because most of the cloud consumption right now is for long-time archiving, for disaster as a service, disaster recovery as a service, backup as a service. So all these tasks you might not want to do in your own data center because it's too expensive, right? It's more expensive to move to the cloud. Over the next couple of years, I think we're going to see a big shift of data moving into the cloud. I think we will see more workloads. That's actually the target of a cloud, having more workloads in the cloud, right? And then on the other hand, I always say we're going to reverse the direction, because right now we are kind of moving the on-premise data center and replicate that for disaster recovery in the cloud. In the future, we might see a replication disaster recovery from the cloud to an on-premise data center or between the cloud providers, because still there is a need for high availability, there is a need for data protection, which is for me, by the one, I think the main topic now. So looking back, going back a couple of years, data protection was always a topic for customers because it was a need. In those days where we are now, it's 24/7. So there is no more acceptance for any data loss. So data protection becomes like the mandatory thing at the core of every project, right? And that's going to continue. Even if you move to the cloud, we need to make sure your data is secure, your data is available, and that's the next challenge, right? So how do we do that with the cloud, and how do we make sure customers can actually leverage the cloud and data protection?
So how do we do that? What are the tips you would give to, I'm pretty sure there are plenty of our customers out there and companies who are looking into obviously leveraging clouds, using it to dump their data, but they are also concerned about security, and there is a lot of conversation about GDPR and so on. What would be your tips to them? What should they do? Where should they look for? Yeah. What should they care about?
I think the most important aspect in that situation or in that topic for the customer is actually to include this data protection story and the data protection technologies from the beginning in every project. Because if I look into most of the customers still in the market, most of them, they are buying storage, they are buying virtualization in some way, they are buying maybe a hyperconverged stack right now, whatever they do, and then they talk about data protection afterwards. Now we need to shift that. That's already starting in most of the customer departments, in most of the customer environments, but I think it needs to become the default that whatever project you have, you need to do a data protection view in it and make sure it fits into your data protection strategy. Because if there is a single component in your data center that doesn't fit in your 24/7 idea, it crashes everything, right? So I think the advice is make sure you consider data protection from the beginning. And I'm not saying that because I'm at Veeam. I'm just saying that because I saw this the last couple of years at the largest customers we have, right? And then that obviously always includes the cloud as well. Because if you move data to the cloud, you need to make sure that data is secure again, it's available, and there are some challenges in the cloud because not every cloud provider actually guarantees you data availability, right? So if you read terms and conditions, and that's what I'm saying, that IT departments today, they really don't care about the infrastructure anymore. That's a need, but they need to care about terms and conditions of cloud services, right? Is actually data availability part of the clouds they are running into, or is it not part of it? Because if it is not part of it, they need to take care of it. And as I said, this is why those projects are becoming larger and larger, and why, at least for me, data protection is always a big part in the project. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if it was me, I personally would start with having a data protection strategy and then look into the solution. What do you think about that?
So you mean having a data protection strategy and then looking for the solution? That's what I would do, right?
Yeah.
So going back to customers, I would say the best way to approach such a situation is having an idea what my RTO, my RPO, what my availability needs to look like, and then go after the solution that can provide me fulfill me that availability. Let's say it this way. As you just said, in this sense, data protection is actually the beginning of every project. Yes. It's not even part of it. It's like I go into projects, start with data availability and data protection, and then I go after the solution that can provide me with that. So it's kind of the entry into a project. So yeah, you can do it like this. This would be like an example for best customer, the best way to do that.
Great. I guess I'm pretty much aligned to the Veeam vision without even knowing that, but it just kind of makes sense to me, and I'm not even an expert. But thanks for sharing that. I think that's a great takeaway for our audience. I hope they get more interested and actually read those terms and conditions next time they look into cloud options. Before we actually go, I have a special question for you. Are you ready?
I don't know. That's depending on the question.
So if you could have one superpower, what would it be?
One superpower? Oh, one superpower would be actually to change the world in the health industry. So if I would have a superpower, I would try to make sure, we can actually solve the issues we have in the health industry and solve some of the big issues actually humans have in terms of the health. If that would be a superpower, I would go for that.
I hope you get it. That sounds amazing. Yeah. Saving the world with Stefan. Thanks for being at Data Visionary Talks. It was a pleasure for me. Thanks for watching.